I'm Rachel Padilla. I'm an artist. I'm outside today because it is such an incredibly beautiful and warm spring day, and I'm going to get some work done. So, I have previously made videos about paper clay and how I make paper clay, but a lot of people have asked what I do with it. How do you use it? Well, one way to use it is to do castings with it. And I've previously made a bust of my torso that I've used kind of as a dress form. But today, I'm going to be doing a casting of my face. So what I've already done is created a mask of my face, essentially. This was created using plaster bandages that you would use for a cast. So this is a medical grade stuff. You get it wet, you squeegee off a little bit of the water, and you put it all over your face and make something like this. Now, for this purpose, I have coated the inside of my mask with acrylic paint. I used a bright color to contrast with the white so that I know I've gotten my paint on the entire surface of the inside of the mask. And then I'm going to use Vaseline and coat it, but we'll go through all of the steps as I go, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I've placed the cast of my face in a bowl of sand, and the reason I've done that is previously when I've tried to use the paper clay in a cast like this, because the cast is thin and prone to get wet, it kind of loses its shape. So I'm hoping that by putting it in here, the sand will give some pressure against the outside of the mask as it may get wet again. And originally, I thought I would use petroleum jelly to coat the inside of the face, but since I don't want to touch it a whole lot, I'm just going to spray it with cooking spray. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Ooh, that's a lot. I'm going to really get in that nose there. In case I missed anything. But that feels pretty good. And it really is being held in there firmly with the sand. So this is the paper clay. And you can see the paper fragments in there. It's almost kind of the consistency of really thick mashed potatoes. But I'm going to work with this in kind of thin sections because it does take a really long time to dry. And the longer it takes to dry, the more prone to mildew and mold it's going to have. So try to do thin layers as I go. Into the nose. And hopefully, since I'm still learning with paper clay and exploring it as a new medium for me, I'm just really in this to learn and to share my learning process with you. So I can't speak to the success of this project at this point, but hopefully I will be able to. Hopefully this works. And I'm just working with a little bit at a time so I don't go too thick. And working it into the formerly placed lumps as I go, so that it doesn't fall apart when it comes out. But in theory, this should dry as one solid mass because of all the little fibers and the pigments, or not pigments, but fibers of the paper. And hopefully I'll get a cool casting of my face. And I've probably, as I'm pushing this into the cast or the mold, it's probably 1/8 of an inch thick in some places, 1/4 of an inch thick in other places. And my hope is between the layer of acrylic paint that I've put on this mask and the oil, it will come off clean and easily. All right, it is all filled in. So now it's just a matter of letting it dry, and this could take days, maybe even weeks, but I'm gonna try to keep it in a warm place where it's got plenty of ventilation, and hopefully it will come out great. All right, so it has been 4 days, and this is feeling really dry. You can kind of hear that there's no sogginess in there, and it has peeled away from the edges here, so I think it's ready to take out. The problem is that there's no give on this at all, so the actual cast is probably going to have to be destroyed in the process of taking this out. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, paper clay, when cast like this, is very hard, very thick. So I'll probably end up doing some work on this, obviously on the nostrils, because I had those open so I could breathe, and those are going to take some work. But this looks pretty good. And this came out much easier and much cleaner than the first time I did a casting with it. So pretty exciting stuff. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you're interested in making paper clay, I will have that link in the description below.